What's up? Jay from Ariya here. Welcome to the channel. And today we've got Marcus with us. Marcus is a long-standing student of mine, and he's going to share his own hero's journey. Now, Marcus is an incredible person, and he's a trainer and a coach. His work has transformed many people's lives. But when we met, he was in a very dark place himself, and he couldn't find a way of getting out. So I'm really excited for him to share this story with you today, so you guys can see what's possible and get inspired as well. Without further ado, Marcus, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Master J.
It's a pleasure. And let's begin this interview from hearing a little bit more about where you were before you met me.
So I never really had any intention to find a teacher, right? I was a teacher. I still am a teacher, and I teach other teachers. So I felt I'd reached the top of the mountain as far as I was concerned. But there was a problem, and it stretched back from when I was younger. When I was at university, I studied geography, geology, and numerous sciences. And I always felt like my life was worth more, like there was something bigger, and I could never tap into it. I felt I fell into the human existence of a 9 till 5 and just a very mundane life. So I decided to do my best to get out of that. And I guess I'd been fighting to find all the hidden mysteries in the world that are around us. And on that journey, I moved into coaching. And like many coaches who have been around for a while, I found myself slowly working towards or discovering the realms of spirituality and self-improvement of the mind and whatnot. And so that journey started off earnest enough. Like I wanted to learn as much as I could, but I was always just very heavy. Like there was a sadness, a depression about me, I guess, a grayness. And I went to a shamanic festival to take ayahuasca, which is a tea from the jungles of the Amazon. Completely unprepared. I decided, the old mantra of find the edges of your comfort zone. Well, I threw myself into that experience without really researching it as well as I should have done. And all of a sudden, my life, where it had been cruising along, but it wasn't really that exciting, it fell into a complete rut of despair. Now, what that meant is my daily existence was spent completely unconnected to reality. I couldn't make sense of anything. Like I could see everything like, anyone would see right now, but it was like watching a movie. And when I spoke to people, it felt like I was real, but they weren't. They were just almost images in front of me. And I later found out that this was called DPDR, depersonalisation, derealisation. So my day-to-day experience wasn't just depression, it was wrapped in the feeling of suffocation. Now, I'd like to imagine that when I went to bed at night, it would end, but it wouldn't. In fact, it used to get worse. I ended up having night terrors. As soon as I closed my eyes, I'd see horrible visions. And it got to the point where this went on for so long, I wasn't sleeping. My life felt just horrible. And I was running out of options. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was going to, jump off a cliff or something. I really felt not just lonely, but just in the pits of despair. I had no lifeline because anyone I spoke to, they just nod and they'd be like, oh yeah, this will pass. You'll cheer yourself up. And that doesn't really work when you're in that situation. It's like seeing the bowels of hell and not being able to close the door, right? It's just, it's expanded into my life. And of course, I couldn't really find anyone to explain this to. The best I could come up with is I'm losing my mind. That's it. My brain's gone gaga. So I never set out to meet you. In fact, I got stuck in this rut for so long. It was just by luck that we had a mutual friend in common, and they put me in touch. And you were able not just to show me the path out of this hell, out of this rut, but to get my life back together. And that went through that happened by a series of stages, by learning how to explain what was going on, to understand this reality I was in. But not just there. You took me further. You took me to the point where I wasn't a victim to it, or I wasn't just existing in it. I started to gain control of it. It was like that Neo in the Matrix, when you start to, right. For me, it was like seeing all the hidden cheat codes that were existing in life. And so I went from a place of absolute rock bottom to dusting myself off without thinking there was any hope being able to do so, to climbing out, and then to finding a mountain and climbing up and getting onto the top of that. So yeah, it's a complete 180-degree change. And I owe so much to you, because you still continue to offer sage wisdom that has had more application and power in my life than any textbook or any other teacher I've ever met.
Well, thank you for sharing. Glad to hear that. And your story sounds like a very typical superhero story, I would say.
Yeah, well, up until that point, I'd never really had the superhero moment. I just had the part when the hero isn't really anyone. They're just, they're just invisible. That was my secret power, was invisibility, of living a mundane life. Right. As much as I'd want to live like a heroic life, even I just couldn't connect to that source energy where I felt this is real. I'm really doing this. I'm really expanding who I am. That lightning bolt moment didn't happen until I met you.
Well, I'm really, really happy to hear that, genuinely, because with every person whose life is transformed like yours, it obviously creates a ripple effect, and you can empower other people and lead by example. So let's hear a little bit more about what training with me was actually like.
So when I first met you, I didn't want to train with you. I had an idea of what the perfect guru would look like, right? And it was a 150-year-old monk living in a cave on the side of a mountain in Nepal or somewhere.
I've been to Nepal, but yeah.
You're right. Yeah, but this experience I had in my mind of just like climbing on my hands and knees to find I am worthy, like teach me these ancient teachings. That's what I thought that miraculous hero's journey would be like, if that would even happen to me. Yeah. And instead, when I met you, I didn't think you were my teacher, right? Because I was looking just visually.
Yeah, sure.
And then as soon as we started talking and I started listening, then I realized you understood something on a very deep level. That something is the nature of reality. And I didn't need convincing that what you were saying was right or wrong. I knew it was right because I put your lessons into practice, and that's how all that darkness disappeared. That's how my life started changing straight away. So my ability to move through life, as I said, with those extra cheat codes happened. My intuition when I'm meeting people developed. So how was training with you? Well, training with you was unexpected. I put up resistance because I was like, no, this can't be right.
An unexpected journey.
It was an unexpected journey, but the very first lessons you taught me were about regaining control of my mind. So I think so many of us, we don't realize our thoughts are not our own. They've been programmed from someone else or something else.
Sure. So
getting that sovereignty of one's mind back, which came from you, that was life-changing in its own right. That was just the beginning. Once I had established that, learning how to wield these extra, I guess, abilities that had been unlocked through the difficult experiences, and gain control of them, that was life-changing. So being able to meditate, almost like in the Doctor Strange movie, I think is a good example of that. Being able to meditate and navigate the astral realm.
That's right.
Which the younger me would be like, what? Astral what? What a load of nonsense. But when you've seen it, when you've moved through it and experienced it, it's, as I said, it's like seeing another color that you've never seen before. You can't forget that, right? It's like tasting freedom, and once you taste it, you can't go back, nor would you want to. So that's what my experience was like from learning from you. It was a one-way path, and it was scary at times, but there's no desire to go back.
Like Doctor Strange and the Ancient One.
Yeah, exactly. I found the ancient one to guide me. So yeah, it was testing. It was challenging. There was times when I thought I was going to quit, just because the knowledge was overwhelming and the insights. And my understanding of reality now is, I wouldn't say unique, but it's very rare I meet someone else apart from yourself and a few others who really get it. And I'm still learning. There's lots I don't get. There's lots I'm still learning. So in a way, the journey is a very it's not a journey of being alone. You're on your own, but you're not alone. And so your encouragement and knowing that you've always guided me with the right advice, you've always been on hand to give me the right lessons, has been incredible. Because now I feel like a leader, a warrior who's writing his own story. And if you think about it, if you're writing your own story, that's not necessarily something you write with other people. You write your own story for you. So what your training was like handing me a pen and saying, right, whatever you write on the paper is going to come true. And it has. And it still continues to. So thank you.
Well, I would love to hear a little bit more about the skills you've developed that are, I would say, transmundane. In that the mundane people, just like everyday folk, think that those are things from films and fairy tales and some fantasy stories. But the truth is, many of those skills that people perceive or refer to as supernatural are actually perfectly natural for us as human beings. It's just not everyone chooses to unlock them. So just share a few of your favorite ones that you've developed through this training, your super
Certainly.
skills.
Yeah, there's so many different stories I could tell you, but I'll just tell you a couple. So the first is, I'm incredibly lucky. Probably one of the most lucky people I know. In fact, the luckiest person I know. And the reason I'm so lucky, and by luck, I mean really, really happy experiences happen to me a lot. Like if let's say you're going to buy a car, right? I'll always buy the car that's the right car, or I'll always get the best seat on the airplane, right? Or I'll, if I have to buy, I did a thing where I kept buying lottery tickets and I kept winning.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you've got a lot of cheat codes from the Matrix.
Right. So I move through life from a very lucky place. Whenever something that seems unlucky happens to me, I know it's like, this is just everything's just lining up as it should. And it does. And I can't get into too much detail about the levels of luck I've had, but I live a life now that I would never have dreamed of because I've been so lucky. So that's just one tiny aspect. Another is when I first started on this journey, when I was like depressed and down, it got worse when I started to have supernatural experiences, which I wasn't happy about. And what that was like was night terrors, seeing things in the room, seeing dead people in houses, like just all kinds of creepy, horrible stuff, hearing voices, all the signs that someone's losing their mind, I suppose. And what I didn't realize at the time was the astral world, the space of the energy field that exists above our general concept of reality, was leaking through, and I didn't know how to control that. So through your training, I didn't only learn how to control that, I learned how to navigate that. What does that mean now? Well, it means that I'm not scared of anything like that. And people come to me now for help in dealing with entities, with ghostly goings on, with quote unquote evil and whatnot. There's more to it than that, but it's given me the tools to essentially, I would say, be an exorcist, which is something I don't really tell people because it's so out there. And even younger me listening to this be like, what? But yeah, it's things that used to scare me, I now command.
Yes, that's so true. I've heard so many stories from you, and it's fantastic to see how you've developed pretty serious astral combat skills, because that kind of proficiency, I mean, astral combat is something very important in our everyday life, and it's way more important than most people realize. Because of the level of energy pollution and stress we have to deal with, being able to become that warrior in spirit and be able to defend yourself, to stand your ground when you need, is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. The scientific background I've come from for a long time was at odds with all this, and even seeing the things I've seen and experiencing the things I've experienced, there was still a part of me that was hesitating and very hesitant to it all.
Yeah.
But now, as I've learned more and more, I see how everything all meshes together. It all makes perfect sense. So that's given me a lot of freedom, a lot of internal peace, and so much of what you teach, I've learned and discovered through myself that this was common knowledge centuries and centuries ago, and it's all died out. So yeah, it's been great to reconnect to these ancient techniques and tools that were probably very widespread, and now just only seem to exist in a few pockets, because a lot of people talk a good game, and a lot of people, a lot of people preach spirituality, but there's only the smallest handful of people I've met that actually understand it, and one of them is you.
Thank you. Well, that is very true. Actually, I feel I must comment on that, because many of those spiritual schools, so to speak, well, luckily not all of them, but many of them, is what I describe as a spiritual Disneyland, where you just go and get entertained, or your ego gets entertained, because you learn all those amazing skills, and you have all basically useless knowledge that you can't use for anything because you don't really understand what it means, but your ego loves it, and it's something you can tell your friends, you can tell your family, and everyone sees you as someone much more evolved. So it's basically an ego trip with no real transformation, and I see a lot of it around. All right, so just to recap your biggest takeaways were the ability to bend reality at will and become as lucky as you currently are. And I remember when we first met, you were actually saying the opposite thing about you. You were saying how you're unlucky and clumsy and breaking things all the time, and things were not working out in your favor. So you've changed that completely. You've turned that around. Some astral superpowers, astral combat, and the ability to defend yourself and other people from negative energies and from astral attacks, which is great. And the ability to tune your body into what you wanted it to look like.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest things I've learned from you is the ability to live life on your own terms. So one of the common narratives that we see with human life is people just deciding as they get older, they're going to start pick up more pain and get more, age, and feel worse about themselves, and as their body starts to hurt. It's such a common thing that in your 30s and 40s, that's it, you start getting back problems, and that gets worse as you get older. And I didn't want to have any of that. I didn't want to belong to any of that narrative. That seemed awful. So one of the attitudes that I picked up from you is you can write your own story. You can create what you want. So one of the things I wanted to create was, as I spent more time living, I actually got stronger. I got healthier, and I feel stronger and more healthy now than I did 20 years ago. Right? I don't have any pain in my body. I've got no achy joints. I've got no bad back or anything like that. I'm completely, my body is like a vessel of strength. And as I've got older, I start feeling younger. Like I doesn't always happen, but sometimes I get ID'd when I buy alcohol, which is embarrassing.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird feeling to go and buy a bottle of wine and then worry that you haven't got your driving license in your pocket.
And how old are you?
I turned 40 this year. So, I'm happy about that. But it's just, if you looked at me 10 years ago, I looked a lot older. Right? I had more lines on my face.
That's true. When we first met, you actually looked different to what
Yeah,
you look like now.
absolutely. And I think, you know, there's that saying of growing older is you can't avoid it, right? But growing up, you have a choice. And that's kind of usually said as a joke. But I think our actual body, the rate at which we age, I think why not choose a life that's good for you? Why pick up pain and move through the human experience like everyone else does? Why not do it on your own terms? So
Exactly.
it's one of the greatest things I've picked up from this training of just, you know, keeping my health and vitality and strength and getting better every single year.
I think you had quite a few injuries, like old injuries from your martial art training and what's not. And from what I know, you were able to heal them all.
Yes, I picked up lots of injuries through training. I used to do a lot of kickboxing. I picked up injuries from that. I picked up injuries from running as well. And I can say on the cusp of 40, I've got no injuries. The last injury I had was an injury in my knee joint. It's called runner's knee, and I fixed that about a year ago, just taking a spiritual approach to strength training.
Brilliant.
Adopting the kind of training that warriors would do centuries ago.
That's
So
right.
yeah, it's been great.
You're now cranking out some insane number of squats, I heard.
Yeah, I once a week I like to knock out. I think I'm up to about 1,400 squats now, and
That's really
that's been
impressive.
great. Well, when I run upstairs, it's like floating. It's amazing. So yeah, I didn't have that attitude in place before. Before this training, I wasn't able to, even if I'd heard that made sense, I wouldn't be able to put it into practice. But by disciplining my mind, I've been able to discipline my body, and it's been a great experience.
And I think you also, well, you shared with me earlier that you feel more liberated because you feel you're becoming more of the person you were called to be, more of the true you.
Yeah, when I was younger, I always thought that self-improvement and self-development and whatever was about building this perfect statue, like if you can imagine who you want to be. From you, I've learned that it's not that. Actually, it's more like you start off as a block of rock, and it's about chipping off all the stuff you don't need, getting rid of all the baggage, getting rid of all the things holding you back, so you're free and strong. So yeah, it's certainly, the journey has certainly been one of putting things down and letting go of stuff. And as I do that, I step more and more into my purpose, into what I'm truly about. And that's been fantastic as well, because I feel confident and congruent. Like if I'm meeting people, I'm not trying to impress them. I'm not trying to live up to some sort of ideal or expectation in their company. I know who I am. Like I love who I am. And because of that, I don't need any validation from anyone. And because of that, I'm free. And so freedom on my journey has been such an important part of the experience. So being able to, as I said, move through life on my own terms, that's been fantastic, because there's so many people I know who are like, for example, people I grew up with, and they're trapped. They're stuck in relationships they don't want to be in, or they're doing things they don't actually want to do, when their life is worth more than that. But they're scared to think even that, because if they taste freedom, it creates despair. But I would say to anyone listening to this, if you taste freedom and you really want to be free, you can be. You've just got to it takes courage. You've got to find a good teacher, and there's one right in front of you right now. She will show you the way. You will find the way. You just have to listen and put everything into practice, and you'll get there.
And have an open mind. So who would you say this training would be the best for?
This training is for any man who wants to take full control of his life. If you feel that you're at a party and you're just waiting for it to end, that's how life feels like, or life feels mundane, or you feel you're worth more, that you deserve more, then the training's perfect for you. The training is going to be awful for you, and the worst kind of training if you want to just live a normal life, if you want a human, mundane existence. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to step away and become great at what you do, if you really want to set yourself apart, and if you're ready to step into fear, to push yourself, and to move beyond all of that, so you're free, the training will be perfect for you. If you've been looking for that teacher who can truly guide you through that experience of the hero's journey, who can walk every step of the way with you, who can be on hand to answer every question you have, and to guide you and to point you in every direction you need to be pointed in, and to give you every single challenge you need to overcome to realize your true greatness, then this training is the ideal match for what you've been looking for. If you're scared, then that's okay. I was too once. If you're worried about what this person can teach you, what Master J has in store for you, then again, yeah, I had every resistance. I didn't take this training of my own free will. I had to take the training because I knew I had no other option. And that was lucky. Thank goodness I did. I would have loved to have had the luxury of choosing to work with Master J, but I didn't. And if you've got that chance, take it, because teachers of this caliber are very far and few between. I am a teacher of teachers myself, and Master J is my teacher. There's no better teacher I've ever met on the face of the earth.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your warm words, and it's been an honor to have you for a student.
Thank you. I have so much more to learn. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to keeping guiding you. So yes, just as you said, this training is a bit like the red pill. You can't go back. So your mind, once expanded, once you've seen more of reality, once you've tapped into your power and what you really can do, it would be pretty impossible to go back to grey, suffocating, mundane life that many people are trapped in. And so, yes, it requires determination, it requires courage, but I am with you all the way. All right, Marcus. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your incredible, inspirational story with us.
Thank you very much. I look forward to the future lessons.
So if you would like to talk, I'm here. Click on the link below and let's connect soon.